All right, off day yesterday as that leads us into a series with the Angels. I think it's getting close to a need to win series for the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to break that all down. Plus, the first day of the mailbag. Make sure you guys stay tuned for everything coming at you today.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasco, Carter First too as well. Our main Twitter account, Locked On Jays as well. Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube or you're listening to us somewhere else, head over to the YouTube page, drop a subscription. It does help us out. We're getting close to, I think, 2,500 people somewhere in there. So, yeah, make sure you hit that sub button. Let's get to that mark. And, me and Carter set little goals for ourselves of, what we try to get to for subscribers and, people following us on Twitter, whatever. And, so the more you guys subscribe, the more you help us out. And it keeps us at the top of your page. It's free, so it doesn't really affect you guys a whole lot. Might as well. A lot to do today. I don't really want to dance around everything because we have a lot to get into. We don't get too many off days. We talk about this all the time. And there's just a lot to get into. We didn't overly talk about Game 3 just with everything going on. I mean, for those of you sports fans out there, we live in Winnipeg. Winnipeg Jets fans, the whiteout was absolutely nuts. Game 7 was absolutely ballistic. We might have talked about that on another day when we have time just because holy smokes. But we got to talk about the major moves that have happened for the Toronto Blue Jays, to the pickups that Carter mentioned last episode, but also some guys going to the injured list, how this affects the Blue Jays roster. We're going to do our mailbag at the start of segment 2. So make sure you guys tune in there. Some of your comments, your questions might be featured in the mailbag. Just some of the ones we took, we found interesting. And then we're going to talk Game 3, of course, because there's some of the comments sort of lead back to Game 3 and some of the major points there. And then, of course, we have the series preview, Toronto Blue Jays, Angels, let's go. Probably the worst start time for us here in Manitoba, 8:37 or whatever it is for us.
Sorry to interrupt, but think about the people in Ontario. Think about the people in Toronto. We're complaining about 8:38 or 8:37, whatever it is. You guys got 9:37. So not exactly ideal when, they're playing in California on weekdays because, we're going to have to stay up and obviously sacrifice a little bit of our sleep for the podcast and for this baseball team. But let's just dive right into it. Obviously, a ton to cover still, kind of some carryover from the weekend. I know I went over this briefly on the Monday episode, but I figured I would go over it right now because we can get a lot more into depth into it today. So the Blue Jays made 2 big signings. They signed right-handed pitcher Spencer Turnbull to a 1-year MLB contract, but there is a clause in that contract since he hasn't pitched a whole lot recently, was out since June 27th of last year, so he is going to need a little bit of a ramp-up. So they did option him to the Florida Complex League Blue Jays. And then the other one is a right-handed pitcher, Jose Urena, signed to a 1-year Major League contract as well. So obviously there had to be some corresponding moves here. We kind of talked about this a little bit on the podcast with Erik Swanson. You need a second opinion with that injury. That's usually not a very good sign, especially when he was supposed to be making progress and supposed to be back kind of around this time was the thought. Then Max Scherzer as well. I wasn't very high on Max Scherzer coming back anytime soon just because of the injury history, the cortisone shots, just the whole kind of idea encapsulated what was going on with Max Scherzer right now. So he is also transferred to the 60-day IL. And left-handed pitcher Josh Walker, option to AAA. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset about that. But let's talk about it. We only kind of brushed over it briefly. I think we'll start with the guy that is going to make the sooner impact on the Toronto Blue Jays, and that is Jose Urena. So this is a guy, obviously, that had a little bit of success in 2024. Did not have a lot of success whatsoever, obviously, in his one start this season. Did not play good whatsoever. So in that start, he had 3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 home runs, 3 Ks, and 1 walk. That's probably why I got the DFA'd. Like, you have that kind of start, not exactly ideal, but this is a guy that is not a strikeout pitcher whatsoever. He had a 14.3 K rate in 2023, which was in the 2nd percentile in MLB, 15.1 K rate in 2024, which was in the 3rd percentile. So not a lot of strikeout stuff. But he is a ground ball pitcher, gets ground balls over 50% of the time, using that sinker slider combo really well at the bottom of the zone. kind of the idea is this guy comes in, whether he can eat innings, whether you use him out of the bullpen later on, if you figure out the starting rotation, which is starting to have a little bit more questions as we continue on through the season. But this will be a guy that, again, you can't expect the nasty stuff like when you talk about the Alek Manoah sinker, like the Jose Berrios slurve that you can just see breaking a ton on TV. Not necessarily what you're going to get here, a guy that you just hope that can eat innings early on. Now it just kind of feels like we're trying to wait until we get to the Alek Manoah territory, because Max Scherzer, for me, is sort of feeling like this lost thing. I don't want to make this comparison this early, but he's feeling a little bit like Joey Votto, and I don't like that whatsoever with Max Scherzer right now. So you do need some sort of guys that are going to come in. Got to give this bullpen a little bit more of reinforcements, especially since the Toronto Blue Jays have been using their high leverage guys a ton. I'm not going to say that Urena is going to be this big high leverage guy, but a guy that hasn't necessarily thrown a ton of innings this year, only 3 innings so far. Hopefully he can just be this plug and play piece. He's not going to be the greatest pitcher of all time, not going to go out there and, put the Jimmy Garcia, Jeff Hoffman numbers. But as long as he is serviceable, I think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be very happy with that.
Yeah, he's just there for eating innings. That's all it is. Like, I don't think we can say anything more than that because we haven't seen him pitch enough. We just haven't seen it. We haven't seen this season, and hopefully, he comes in and makes somewhat of an impact, but that's all you're asking. And you talked about sort of the Alek Manoah of it all, and that's exactly sort of the plan, I think, going forward now. It's can we survive with the group that we have until we get Alek Manoah back? And for me, what this is saying is that this team is confident that Alek Manoah can have an impact when he returns. Because if not, there might have been a bigger move here that this team would go out and try to get somebody that's going to make more of a lasting impact. Whereas now, you sort of just are bringing in pieces to hold this team over. And yeah, you're right. Scherzer, this is 100% feeling like the Joey Votto situation. This is like spitting image for me. 60 days. I mean, by that point, you're looking at Alek Manoah's return right there. So will it be 60 days? Will he pitch again for the Toronto Blue Jays? Who knows? I'm pretty much very questionable that we will ever see Max Scherzer back on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. And it is what it is. You know what? I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, you have 3 solid guys. You got some question marks around Bowden Francis. You just have to bring in pieces to surround these guys. And, I look back to, I think it was game 2 of the doubleheader, Carter, and where John Schneider gets tossed, Kevin Gausman gets tossed, and I guess that would be game 1 of the doubleheader.
Yeah.
And he goes up to the umpire and shout out John Boy Media, who I think we actually slammed on this podcast one time. But for the breakdown, you got to see what John Schneider was saying. And it was like, come on, I don't have that many. I got 4 guys that can go today. And so I think the bullpen needs to be managed better. And hopefully with these corresponding moves, you're not getting guys that can just go out there and, you throw for an out, right? Or 2 outs. You're hoping that you can bring in guys that can go an inning or 2 and that can eat some time here for this Toronto Blue Jays team.
Well, this is a guy that pitched over 100 innings last season. So you do have that option where he can come in for multiple innings. You probably want him to be an opener, right? Especially right now, like with obviously the questions around Bowden Francis that we will get into as well. The 5th starter is just literally non-existent whatsoever. So now you have Urena, you have Yariel Rodriguez that you can work in there, kind of make those compound in a start for this Blue Jays team. If you can get even 4 innings, you probably want 5, but at minimum, if you can get 4 innings from those 2, I think that's something you're going to be okay with, and just having a chance to win, just keeping this team in the ball game, which is harder said than done, that's for sure, or easier said than done. But since we're already on this topic, obviously another guy that could be another inning eater down the stretch, and this is Spencer Turnbull. This is a very interesting signing to me because I thought he would have been signed a lot earlier than this, and this is exactly when we talk about the trial and error for the bullpen. It's not even. It is trial and error because there is a lot of risk that comes with this because of the injury history. Had Tommy John in that 2021 season, not play in 2022 whatsoever. And then obviously last season, ending his season with a right lat strain. So he's had some injury history in the past. And in 2023, did not have a very good season, obviously coming off that injury as well. At a 7.26 ERA and a 1.68 whip. You can, again, attribute that to him not pitching in 2022, coming off of a major injury. But a lot of question marks with Spencer Turnbull, but boy, was this guy good last season with the Philadelphia Phillies. 54.1 innings pitched, around a 2.6 ERA. Really good stuff with Spencer Turnbull. What you're going to see from this guy, you're going to see like an 84, 83 mile an hour sweeper. You're going to see a lot of 92 mile an hour fastballs. Not going to blow you away with the velocity, but he has 6 pitches, sort of, again, maybe a little bit of a knockoff Chris Bassitt in that sense. So he has a lot of pitches where he can attack you. So again, a little bit of an intriguing option, but there's not really a timeline right now for when we're going to see Spencer Turnbull because he hasn't pitched really since that June start. So it's going to be up in the air. It's definitely going to be at least a couple of weeks before we see this guy in MLB action.
That's what I was going to say. I think you're probably looking at least 3 weeks here for a timetable for him to make his first start with the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, that's just from things that we've seen with other guys and ramp up times and guys trying to come back after injury. It's all this kind of stuff. And so I think you're looking at the 3-week period minimum. But I'm excited for this, right? You need a fifth guy at the end of the day. You got to do something. You need help. You can't go 4 all season and expect your pitchers to be as efficient as they would be. So yeah, interesting moves. I'm pretty happy with them. I think you had to do something. And here they are making moves, trying to adjust midseason, at least until Alek Manoah gets back. So hat tip a little bit, I guess, for not waiting too long, I guess. It's already been a little bit, but you sort of have to see what hand you're dealt. And they looked at their cards and they knew they had to go a different direction. So I would say a little bit of hat tips here for making these moves early enough.
Well, in this bullpen, for the most part, has been really good this season. When you have your top 5, you just really need to play this little game that they're trying to do right now. Yeah, right now, I'll go quickly over what the bullpen's going to look like for this Los Angeles Angels series. So you have Jose Urena, you're going to have Dylan Tate, Yariel Rodriguez, Mason Flaherty, who's been very good, obviously. Chad Green, Brendan Little, a little bit of a blow-up start in that game 3. Yimi Garcia and Jeff Hoffman. But this is what the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen could look like in 3 weeks, assuming that Spencer Turnbull does make it back in that 3-week period. I have some guys as depth options that I actually wouldn't even mind putting on the team in this scenario. So obviously you're still Jeff Hoffman, you're going to have Jimmy Garcia, you're going to have Brendan Little. Nick Sandlin should be back around that time. So we saw how good he was early on in the season. That would be another nice addition to his bullpen. Chad Green, just been solid. You're not going to say he's the greatest, not going to say he's been bad. Just kind of what you expect from Chad Green. Spencer Turnbull would be in there. You have Wyrod, and then Mason Flaherty would still be in that bullpen. Then you still have Jose Urena. Ryan Burr would be back at that time, so that would be another option for this bullpen. And then Dylan Tate, I don't know if he's going to be on the team at that point. I don't love when he comes into pitch right now. Again, as your 8th reliever, I think he gives you still an okay shot at not blowing up. It's not like a Richard Lovelady, it's not a Jacob Barnes where I'm like, oh no, every single time. But not the most confidence in Dylan Tate. But at the end of the day, with those kind of relievers, as long as they can just not be horrible, where we kind of walked that back when we were talking about Richard Lovelady. That was just bad. You can't be that bad and expect your team to win a baseball game. As long as he's not blowing up, if he gives up 1 run from time to time, I think you're going to be okay with that at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, no team in the MLB has a perfect bullpen from 1 to 8 that are going to go out there and be able to shut down every single inning. So you're going to have those guys that come in certain situations where it's like, we're probably out of this game. This game's probably over. Let's throw Dylan Tate and just hope he can, get a few outs. That's pretty much all that is. And there's a lot of teams that have that in their 8th, 7th, 6th spot sometimes. So, you got to be happy where this bullpen is at. Carter, anything else before we jump into this mailbag? We got to talk Game 3, obviously season preview. There's a whole lot that we still got to break down. Do you have anything else before we kick out of this segment and move on?
Yeah, one last little thing I'm going to throw in is when you do get a lot of these guys back, there's multiple guys in this bullpen that can throw multiple innings. So you're going to be able to have these guys throw 2 innings. I'm not going to say 3, but let's go over the people that already have done that. Jeff Hoffman, again, you don't want him to do 2 innings all the time because that's how, again, this contributes to the overthrowing early on in the season. But Brendan Little, this guy can throw 2 innings. Nick Sandlin's a guy that we've seen throw 2 innings. Spencer Turnbull would be a guy. Yariel Rodriguez would be another guy. If you have Jose Urena in there, that's another guy that can throw multiple innings. So your bullpen arms would be a little bit more stretched out than you would traditionally have with a bullpen. So they give John Schneider a little bit more flexibility that should, in turn, kind of help with some of his decisions.
Yeah, for sure. It's not being forced in situations that you're going to have 2 guys to choose from in a important win game, right? You're going to have options, or it should at least extend the window for some of these guys to be able to pitch. So, yeah, good point there. As we move on, we got the mailbag. Some of your guys' comments. We got to talk Game 3 for those of you that saw our Monday episode. We did sort of go off a little bit on some of the decision-making and whatever else. We got a lot more to talk about there. And, of course, like I said before, series preview coming up right after the second break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. whether you're spending too much money on online shopping, whether it's on books, whether it's on car parts, baseball cards, doesn't matter what it is. Everyone can save a little bit of money, especially right now where times are a little bit tough in Canada with how much expensive everything is. So Monarch Money makes it so easy. It keeps everything in one app. You don't have to juggle multiple apps. You can just go to Monarch Money and it takes care of all your needs, which is very convenient and very good, obviously, for your bank account. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
All right. For those of you watching on YouTube, I said eventually I was going to make a graphic, and I put this together like 2 seconds before we started. So welcome to the mailbag segment. Yeah, that's it. It sucks. I didn't have time, but it is what it is.
Big build up for that one, obviously. But hey, I
Yeah.
mean, it's an important segment. We got to talk about on the pod what the fans are thinking right now. So I know you have a lot of comments that we want to get into. So I'll throw it back over to you for the first one.
Yeah, so I want to start here because we did obviously spend a lot of time talking about the play and the decision made not only by John Schneider in some decisions with the bullpen, but also the play where Vlad, Bo, Santander all sort of make iffy decisions. So I have a lot on that. But let's start with the Yimi Garcia one where sort of the blow up, lets the grand slam go. And this is a comment. This is from Steve. I don't agree with the suggestion that we bring in Yariel Rodriguez for Yimi Garcia in that moment. To me, it would have been more likely that they would have walked the first hitter than given up a double or home run. If anyone goes in there, it's Hoffman, overextended or not. I was okay with the decision to keep Garcia in. You win some, you lose some. Let's be honest. Who thought that Schneider was going to go deep, especially after he just hit one the inning before? What bothered me more was not bringing Hoffman in for the 9th inning yesterday instead of Little, of course. Little walks 3, and the Guardians end up scoring the insurance run. Too many walks from our relievers. So thought out comment there. And Carter, I want to throw it to you because, on this, you were really, we were both on the side that probably should have pulled Yimi Garcia at that moment, but didn't. And again, hindsight's 2020. Do you stick with your guy? Do you think, hey, he's probably too taxed? Do you go somewhere else? So again, Steve says he probably would have stuck with Yimi himself. And I know where you sat on that, and you were all in on them pulling Jimmy there. But what are your thoughts on what Steve just said?
See, again, like most of the time in this scenario, like I'm gonna roll with Yimi Garcia, especially because he hasn't given up a run the entire time. But he brought up that Yariel Rodriguez, he thought he would walk the next batter. With Yimi Garcia, you knew the command was not there. Like you saw it in live action, you saw it in front of your eyes. At least with Yariel Rodriguez, there's some optimism. He can go out there and maybe it is going to be wild. So that is definitely something that can happen with Yariel Rodriguez. But there has been some flashes where he comes in and he's absolutely lights out. Like he could almost be the closer for this baseball team when his stuff is really on. So it is a massive risk that you would have taken with Yariel Rodriguez. But when you're just thinking about the scenario for the game and you're seeing how Yimi looks on that mound, you're seeing how the command, especially with that fastball, is all over the place. I think at that point, I'd much rather take the chance on Yariel Rodriguez. Maybe he does blow up, and maybe you're right. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I'm not even going to bring up that he got the last out. Like that's a completely different scenario. So I'm not going to use that to kind of argue my point here. I'm just thinking I'd rather, go with at least a chance of, getting a guy out rather than using Yimi Garcia, who clearly did not have his best stuff in that appearance.
Yeah. And just Carter, I want to go, this is from Steven. And this is regarding the base running decision and the John Schneider sort of everything encompassing. It is easy to second guess decisions either made by the manager or the players. However, the manager has time to make the call, but the players need split second timing, which requires skill. And I agree with that statement. And I think there was a comment as well agreeing with Steven there. My only issue with the play there is that these two guys have been notoriously bad base runners, making bad mistakes. If this was Andrus Gimenez on the base path making that mistake, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe he saw something. He is a notoriously good base runner. George Springer, most of the time, actually a pretty good base runner. It's just with Vlad and Bo, they are two guys that over the past 3 seasons, 4 seasons, whatever, have been caught in bad situations, have been picked off and getting into rundowns, have tried to go home when they shouldn't go home. So you're right, it is a skill, but I feel like it's a skill these guys don't necessarily have of making the right call. In regards to John Schneider, 100% agree. You have the time to make the decision there with Jimmy. Um, and I don't know. I agree with Carter in saying that I think you got to take him out, especially seeing how the command is. But on the flip side, I also sort of see the statement of it's Jimmy. Maybe John Schneider thinks, hey, even at Jimmy's not his best, he might be still our best option. So I'm okay. Again, it's all little pieces when it comes to decision making by the manager, by the players, whoever. And it's sort of in the moment. It's just sometimes, yeah, when we look back at it after the game, we can make the decision. Hey, was that the wrong or the right decision? Right? It's a lot easier from our side of the TV screen for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be a lot harder if you're actually in that scenario. I kind of wanted to address part of the comment we didn't really go into is the Jeff Hoffman aspect. You rather overthrow Jeff Hoffman once again. Again, this is worst case scenario, but as soon as you start overthrowing your pitchers early on, the injury risk just skyrockets. If Jeff Hoffman, God forbid, goes on an injured list right now, I don't know what Blue Jays fans are going to do. And I don't think you want to risk that whatsoever early on the season. Obviously, you don't want to throw away games necessarily, but is it worth losing one game or having Jeff Hoffman go on the 10-day IL, the 15-day IL, the 60-day IL, and having that just injury risk skyrocket compared to how it would be if you just rested him? Obviously, sucks again that you saw what happened. You saw that they just kind of blew that baseball game. Jeff Hoffman, I think he threw 3 of the last 5 days. He had 2 innings pitched previously in that last week. So a lot. Jeff Hoffman was throwing a lot, and I'm always going to err on the side of as good as he is, as much as I want to see him be out there for 9 innings if you could handle it, like Randy Johnson in the good old days. But I just don't like the risk that you were taking with Jeff Hoffman, especially how good he's been this season.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, that's one of those for me that, again, there's some guys that you can rely on, you can use more often than not. Some guys are just have the ability to go longer, to go more innings. But I think with this situation, you just don't even want to tempt fate with Jeff Hoffman going down on the injured. So no, 100% agree. I think that you couldn't roll him out there as much as you maybe would have liked to. But as well, Carter, with Stevens one, just on sort of the players and managing decisions, the split secondness, just I guess on everything as a whole, how do you feel?
Well, the base running decisions where you brought up with Vladdy and Bo. I mean, Vladdy specifically, like you remember him getting picked off at second base in that Mariners series that I hate talking about because there was not a lot of fun in that series, obviously. But in big moments, Vladdy has made some dumb decisions. He runs through stop signs sometimes. He's apparently leaving earlier this year. Again, that's kind of up in the air. Did he not? I mean, you would have to assume you're a baseball player. You should just be able to figure out, hey, I got to watch the ball into the glove. So that's a tough decision. I'm going to kind of give him a little bit of a pass on that. But there is a multiple instances where that kind of stuff happens with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, where this happens. And I watched that clip back because I kind of brought it up on the Monday podcast, and I wasn't 100% sure. Like I'm pretty sure I knew what I saw, but I didn't watch it back that first time. So I watched it back 8 times before this episode. The ball gets hit to the first baseman, Kyle Manzardo. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., as soon as he passes Manzardo, he's looking back. In what world are you trying to go to run to second base and you're looking at the first baseman? And nobody teaches you that. Put your head down and actually hustle. He's looking backwards and he's jogging. It's so frustrating to watch it because Kyle Manzardo, he hesitates as well. He kind of looks at first, goes back to second, kind of fakes the second, does a 180, touches his base, then kind of looks at Bob and then throws to 2. And Vladdy's just not running. He's simply just not busting his butt. And maybe he gets thrown out. There's probably a scenario. I think it's like 50-50. He might get thrown out, but at least it's a competitive play. You know what happens when you rush throws, when you kind of get people to release the ball quicker than they want to. That's where you could have some air throws. You could have a ball in the dirt. You could have hit Vladdy. There's so many different scenarios that if he kind of just shows a little bit more effort in that play, maybe it changes. And maybe Bo Bichette, since it is a close play at second base and it's a little bit of a farther throw to home, maybe he has a better chance of getting home. But it's more so Vladdy just needs to try, especially when you have this pedigree of not being a good base runner. You got to have effort on the base paths, especially in a big moment like that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I my feelings on sometimes with Vladdy and the lackadaisicalness of his game. And you know what? When he's doing well, I couldn't care less. But there are little plays that can change a ball game for you, and that could have been one of them, right? You get the dagger early, and maybe that sparks this team, but. Carter, I do want to go in. We have so many other comments, and maybe we just need a whole mailbag episode. So again, maybe we'll do that coming up. You know what? Schedule it for next Monday.
No,
next
next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
There you go. Yeah, there's
And
no way we're gonna be able to do it for the Monday.
and we will do like a 2-segment mailbag on all your comments. So, yeah, leave us comments maybe going into the weekend, and we'll make sure we gather enough for the weekend. Whatever you guys want to say, it could be about anything Blue Jays related. It can be about what hat Carter needs to wear more often in the video. I don't care. We'll do a bigger mailbag. But another couple plays from Game 3, Carter, that aggravate me, and not to the sense that I get. You're trying. You're at the highest level of baseball. You've got to do something. But in the third inning, the Blue Jays get the bases loaded, and I have been harping on timely hitting. I swear to God, for the last 2 weeks, George Springer comes up, bases juiced in the third inning, and it's a deep fly ball to center field, but it's an out. And that's what I'm talking about. It's timely hits. It's getting those down. It's not having to go for the big shot there. You hit a single and you score 2 runs. And that changes baseball games. And then George Springer comes up in the ninth and strikes out. Like, it's big moments. And people have, been upset with Vladdy about not hitting home runs in the big moments, or not hitting, at the start of the season until the season doesn't matter anymore. Well, there's a lot of guys on this team that are doing that right now, that are having the same issue. Is in a big situation where you can drive in a ton of runs, they just can't get the job done. And so I don't know. I was pretty frustrated about that, to say the least.
I mean, it happened in the first inning. You had runners in first and
Yeah.
third, no outs. You brought up the third inning, the eighth inning. You had runners on first and second, no outs. Ernie Clement lays him very good bunt down. You got runners on third and second. Miles Straw, he has been good this year, and I know there's the high expectations aren't necessarily high here, but the swing, like first pitch swing on a cutter outside, I don't mind the location, but it just didn't look like he was looking for that pitch. It looked like he got completely fooled and was just trying to, it was a 2-strike swing trying to stay alive. And what does he do? He pops it not barely out of the infield. A horrible at bat with runners in scoring position. I know you want it to just hit a fly ball, but you actually have to have a competitive swing to get that fly ball. And then Nathan Lucas, who actually has had a very good stretch here. I think people do have to apologize a little bit to Nathan Lucas, maybe us included a little bit as well, because I did think he was going to get DFA'd instead, or not DFA'd, sent down instead of Will Wagner. And good thing that didn't happen. But he does, again, when you come up in a big spot, you have an opportunity to hit a single and you pop out. Just very frustrating to see. And then the ninth thing, like you said, too, obviously, you had runners on first and third, same thing, no outs. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sack fly. Bo Bichette even steals a base, which I was thought for sure he was going to be out. But anyway, it did work out, but still, you can't drive in the run. So there was multiple instances in this game, once again, where you had multiple opportunities to really blow open the game. And they just, again, continue to just kind of be lackadaisical at the plate and not come up in those massive moments. But I did want to bring up 2 more things. You have the Red and Little struggle. Just you can't give up 3 walks in that scenario. And then obviously you give up that insurance run. And what happens? Emmanuel Clase just launches a ball into left field. Andrus Jimenez ends up scoring. That would be the tying run if Red and Little doesn't give up that run in theory.
Yeah.
Again, it's the walks where that one upsets me a little bit. If he just got beat, it's a little bit more livable. But you're giving people free passes. That's not going to play in the long run. And the last thing is a little bit just, a little bit funnier. Alan Roden got hit in the 4th inning by a changeup. I know it was like an 81-mile-an-hour changeup, but he literally did not flinch whatsoever. He's just like, yeah, my at-bats have been bad recently. I mean, put me on base, man. Like, I'm taking this in the shin, knee, whatever it was. Didn't even flinch. He just kind of just shrugs it off, just walks over. That was rock star stuff from Alan Roden. But I mean, maybe that's inspiring him to have better at-bats. Maybe he knows he's not having good at-bats, and that's okay. I'll put the body on the line. But a lot of other people would have jumped out of the way, even though it only was a changeup.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade here. I coached our high school team, I think my first year out of high school, and Dallin Wilton, guy normally comes on this podcast, I think he got hit 48 times that year. Just because every at bat, Dal knew he just, struggled at the plate. He'd sit there and he'd just eat balls. The guy's like huge. He's just jacked, and he just stands there in front of the plate. And I swear to God, he means to do it. And the umps aren't going to say anything because Dal's bigger than half of them. So a little bit of that energy from Alan Roden. We got a series to preview yet. Obviously, we don't want to give you guys a 50-minute podcast. But again, there's always so much stuff to talk about. When we have conversations in our group chats and with our friends, it sort of sparks little ideas for us too. So we try to keep it at a decent time frame here for you guys though. But like I said, series preview coming right up after the break. Make sure you guys stick around, and we'll be right back. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. You guys know how much I love Game Time, and actually it has come in clutch for me and a bunch of my friends as well. some people trying to go to the Winnipeg Jets games, the playoff games, and Game Time has tickets available cheaper than anywhere else because tickets for playoff games are just insane. But there's nothing better, my favorite thing, than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets even easier with their last minute deals. They're all in pricing, the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes all the stress out of buying MLB tickets, plus ticket price drops as the game gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I talk about this all the time. I don't even know how many baseball games I went to last year, sort of all around. We did a little bit of traveling. If it was to Minnesota, if it was to or Minneapolis, if it was to Toronto, if it was to New York, it's catching games and Game Time. I would not go anywhere else to buy my tickets. They literally have the best price, and I don't want to be duped when I hit the checkout, right? I want to know what I'm paying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Oh, one of my favorite days of the week is when I get to talk about Farm to Fork. If you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it even easier to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms. That's a big deal right now. So when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian from two Canadian boys. Trust me, this is the time. If you're going to get your meats, get it from Farm to Fork. These people are amazing people. They know Ross Levitan of Locked On Senators as well. And Ross has had me over for a couple steak nights, and I got to enjoy the Farm to Fork. They are excellent. I highly suggest don't go to Walmart, don't go to your co-op, go to Farm to Fork. I'm telling you that right now. They're delivering all across Ontario, Western Quebec, and the best part, delivery is free with a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave your house to get this quality. I've got a special code just for you guys. Use code LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. All right, dude, series to preview. I think one of the more important series for me. I think this is a need to win. I don't want to say like the classic must win series. I don't think it's a must win series quite yet, but I think it's very important for this team moving forward because this is an opportunity to now push yourself, obviously with a 3-game set, back above 500. Now, will they do that? I don't know, but it gets you right close. A team that is beatable. And especially for this Blue Jays team right now, they might need one. So again, every game for people living in Toronto is 9:30. People living in Manitoba, 8:30, and wherever else you guys are from. We know there's a lot of you guys all over the map here that listen to the pod, and we appreciate that. So make sure you guys check your game time because it is a later start. The first game later today. The Blue Jays don't have a starter listed, so I'm thinking we're looking at a bullpen day here. Will it be Yariel Rodriguez? Who will it be? We're not 100% sure. There's been nothing on the MLB site. There's been nothing on the score. There's been nothing on Sportsnet. So a little bit unclear. But Carter, you have a guess?
I think this is the Jose Urena. It has to be. Like you sign him, you insert him into the slot. You have Yariel Rodriguez obviously to pair with him as well. So that's kind of the way I see it. Maybe you throw Dylan Tate in there, and you have a trifecta. They can get 5-6 innings. Sure. Honestly, if you give up 3-4 runs, I think a lot of people are going to be okay with that. But yeah, that's really the only one that's kind of up for grabs right now. I think that should be how it does play out. I don't have the probables pulled up. You want to just jump back into it?
Yeah, so just going back on that, it'll probably be a Yariel Rodriguez combo. Who starts the game? I don't know. I would assume, you're probably right. Yariel probably goes second. But again, keep an eye on that when it gets closer to game time, especially for those of you that like betting. If you want to bet on, just because you don't know who's coming out there early. Second game, this is the big one. Jose Berrios, Yusei Kikuchi, the return of Yusei Kikuchi to face the Toronto Blue Jays. Our boy, we still got a special place in our heart for Yusei Kikuchi. So that will be an interesting one. I believe that is the Wednesday game. So look out for either Skylar Peters, Dallin Wilton, or we actually have a new guest that's going to start coming around the pod a little bit more as well. So one of those guys will join us or me on the podcast Wednesday. So that should be a blast of an episode as always. Thursday, Chris Bassitt and Soriano. That'll be an interesting one too. I'm going to be very interested to see how that one plays out. Just because I think it's a pretty even match. I know Soriano hasn't been the best this season, but I think he's better than what his stats suggest. So I'll be a little bit curious on how that game goes. But again, Chris Bassitt's been so electric that maybe it will be just go the Jays' way. Carter, I guess at all these games, where do you think the Jays stand after this series?
See, the Jays have been hitting lefties pretty well, and they do get 2 lefties, but one of them is Yusei Kikuchi. We talked about this start a little bit off camera. There's no way this is just a mediocre start from Kikuchi. It's either he is the worst pitcher of all time, or he might no-hit the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, it's one or the other. I hope, obviously, as much as I love Kikuchi, I want the Toronto Blue Jays to actually score runs. Maybe the Yusei Kikuchi can be that guy helping the Blue Jays out one last time. Maybe start some momentum for this offense and start hitting some home runs, getting the power back with this team. Soriano, I want to see how they handle his velocity. I feel like that the Toronto Blue Jays have not really handled velocity that well this year. I think that partly could be because their bat speed is one of the worst in all of baseball as a team. So obviously having a tough time catching up to those fastballs. But just, again, it's very early to do this. But I'm looking at the standings today. The Yankees just blew a lead in the 8th inning to the Padres. They're up 3-0. They lost 4-3. Believe it or not, right now, looking at the standings, I know it's just in me, but Toronto Blue Jays are 16-18. They're 2.5 games back of the AL East. Nobody wants this division right now whatsoever. Like the Yankees are 19-16, and that is the worst record for a division leader in the MLB. We always talk about the AL East being the AL Beast. This year, I mean, they're pillow fighting for this division. So it's still, believe it or not, with how bad the Toronto Blue Jays have played kind of at the start of the season. But again, that schedule wasn't the easiest schedule to start off too. There should be better things ahead, and you kind of start to see that in this Los Angeles Angels series, especially without Mike Trout. So a good opportunity, I think a big opportunity that you got to win a series sweep would do absolute numbers. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm going to be optimistic. I do think they're going to get to Kikuchi. I think they're going to hit the lefties well, as they have done this season. I think they're going to win the first 2, and then Soriano just not going to be able to handle his fastball, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you win 2 out of 3 games, you might be gaining ground the way things are going in the AL East right now.
Yeah, you need to here. This is a need to, again, not a must win, but I definitely need to win series, I think, here. I'm actually going to go with that they get the win on Kikuchi. They get the win on Soriano, but the first game, I think just with the pitching troubles, the bullpen, and maybe that bites them for the next 2 games in game 2 and 3. I don't know, but that's just the feeling I have. And I sort of got to go with the gut once in a while. So I'm going a win game 2 against Kikuchi and a win game 3, a 2-1 Blue Jays series win. Carter, man, it's weirdly last week felt really long. It felt like a really long week. And the weekend felt nice, a little bit of recovery, but also craziness with Jets playoffs going on here. Winnipeg is just bumping right now. It is an awesome time to be a part of this city. And for me to be able to work with the Winnipeg Jets and CJOB, it is a fun time. It's busy. It is definitely busy. Me and Carter, you started work this week as well in the summer. So the boys are a little bit battling the sleep bug right now. We might have to try to get some tonight because these next couple games are not going to help us out a whole lot.
Yeah, I had the best 2-week period of the year where, we were between university and then my summer job, obviously. So I was just golfing a lot, as I said a lot on this podcast. But now, yeah, I mean, this last weekend with the street parties, we had a golf tournament as well. I honestly wish the Blue Jays season happened from like October until it was the NHL season, because in the winter, I have a lot more time. Obviously, everyone has a lot more time, especially in Canada and Manitoba. You don't really want to go outside every single day. It's minus 30, minus 35 outside. Now you're seeing that's plus 25, plus 30. Where there's golf, where there's obviously events in the summer, there's work, there's baseball, there's slow pitch, there's everything, there's football. Like, there's so much that happens in the summer, and obviously I'm not going to complain whatsoever, because I would much rather be busy with the warm weather than be depressed in my house because it is minus 30 outside. Yeah, just busy time of the year. You guys are probably busy as well. So we're just, hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays, if we're going to spend all this time, with our busy schedules watching the Blue Jays, let's watch a competitive baseball team. Let's watch a baseball team that can actually score runs and play at least competitive baseball against some good teams. But that's what the Toronto Blue Jays sort of been doing the last 4 games. Obviously, the stretch before that, they were not doing that. So hopefully we have the bad and we leave the bad in the past, and we can only look positive to the future. But saying that, thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, support. Everything recently has been much appreciated. We do want to do a big mailbag episode, like Braden said. Probably going to come sometime in the middle of the week. I think Tuesday should work. Obviously, Monday episodes, as you guys know, there's usually 3 games that we have to cover, and then somehow the Jays make a signing, or maybe somebody beats the Looney Dog record on Tuesday, and we got to wait until the Monday to talk about it. There's always just some random thing that pops up over the weekend that we do end up talking about. But hey, that's kind of the fun of the podcast. There has been a lot of news surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays so far this season.
Yeah, there really has been. So, like Carter said, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. You comment at us. We want to see them. Your guys' thoughts, opinions on honestly whatever. Come back to a video. It doesn't even have to be. Just find a video and comment on it if you got something to say, because we'll try to make sure we answer you if it's in the comments or if it is on one of the mailbag episodes. As well, me and Carter still have to do our 999 challenge on live stream one of these days. We'll get to that, when we can find a day that you can feel like the worst human being alive for the following 3 days. Yeah, like Carter said, thanks a bunch for watching. See you guys tomorrow.